Fall is definitely my favorite time of the year. The temperatures have dropped. It's absolutely gorgeous out here, and I can enjoy all the fruits of my labor from all season long. Welcome to Gardening TLC. My name is Michelle, and you are at Garden Gab. Garden Gab is where we answer all of the questions from the previous 2 weeks' videos, and we take a look at all of those beautiful submissions of all of your hard work in the garden as well. So come along today. Let's take a look at those, answer some questions, and just enjoy being outside. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you decided to join us. If you like our videos, please subscribe below, share with your friends, leave your comments, all those good things. We actually garden in Northern Illinois, Zone 5, and I'm telling you, if you want in on the action with these viewer submission pictures, send yours in. We always are looking for pictures for the month that we're actually in. One picture of something in your garden that you are just excited about. And no matter what stage your garden is at, I guarantee you there's always something out there that looks beautiful. We want to know who you are, where you live, what zone it is, and a brief description of what it is that we're looking at. Send it to the email right here, and we'll share those during Garden Gab, which is always the first and third Saturdays of the month. I am so inspired every time I get garden pictures from you guys. If you want to be inspired, check out somebody else's garden. Every time I do this or I go to somebody else's garden, I want to run home and just roll around in the dirt. Okay, well, maybe not roll around in the dirt, but I certainly want to get my hands down in that dirt and just plant something. Also, stay tuned to the end. I have some announcements to make. One is going to be a really fun field trip that we're going on, and the other one will be something that's coming that you can get in on. All right, let's jump right in. Our first video was backyard gardening, skinny border install. This is where we went to my client Candy's house and installed the design that we did along the fence in her backyard. I am absolutely in love with that design, and I think that when we put it in, she was pretty excited as well. I cannot wait until that thing grows up and is a little bit bigger. We'll definitely go back next year and check it out, but let's answer questions from that video first. This beautiful picture comes from Kim Edge. She lives in Iowa City, Zone 5B. These are anemones. So this is a beautiful double dark pink called Pamina. This is gorgeous. Also, if you look just a little bit to the left, we've got some beautiful New England asters there. I have planted my first anemones ever. I planted the elfin swan in my garden. Really excited to see how those are going to do. They're only in their first year, so next year they should be absolutely fabulous. Our question comes from Peaches and Sugar number 1, and she wants to know about the hibiscus that I planted in Candy's garden. And she said, is Berry Awesome the hardiest hibiscus ever? I live in NS Canada, so I'm going to assume that's Nova Scotia, and really need the hardiest hibiscus to get through the Canadian winters. Well, honestly, I can't speak for where you live, and you didn't list the zone. I did look it up, and it says that Nova Scotia is anywhere from a 5A to a 7A. These summerific proven winter hydrangeas are rated down to zone 4, so you should be okay. Dr. Lisa Stinson, 8967, writes, I'm an American living in France. When I lived in the U.S., I always used pre-emergent with the mulch in all of my flower beds, and it worked great. Now that she lives in Europe, they have banned that chemical there, and you can't buy it anywhere. So she's looking for an organic suggestion of what she can use in place of that. Now, I have no experience with this whatsoever, and that's how I answered, but I did a little bit of research to try to get a little more information on what you could do if you didn't want to use a chemical pre-emergent, or maybe you're someplace where you can't actually get your hands on it. So here's what I found. Now, it'll be my luck that you can't get this in Europe either. Who knows? I have no idea where you can buy this. I do know that an alternative is corn gluten meal. And what they say is it's a great natural alternative for folks looking to achieve the same results as traditional synthetic pre-emergent herbicides. The use of corn gluten meal as a natural pre-emergent was discovered by Dr. Nick Christians of Iowa State University. When you apply corn gluten, though, you want to make sure that you are applying the real thing and not a corn gluten meal substitute. So there's all kinds of information out there about that on the internet. If that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely check it out. Go to a credible source, see what kind of information you can find out about that, and see if that would be something that you want to use instead of a pre-emergent like Snapshot or Preen. All right, hope that helps. This beautiful little snippet of a garden comes from Janet Trent. She lives in Michigan, zone 6A. This is a new bed that she put in the spring of 2023, but before she put it in, she did the no-till method to get it ready in the fall of 2022. She loves this method of creating new beds, and she will do it again this fall to create a new bed that she's going to put in the shade. I love the cleomes in there. I like the red chairs in the background too. It pulls my eye all the way through this. And aren't those moonflowers? Those are great. Our question comes from Mike Soto, DM 6 year. I have a very nosy and attached neighbor, side-by-side duplex. This will be perfect to put in the middle of the front lawn for privacy so she can stop watching us when we're on our driveway. They're in Massachusetts and they're thinking of some type of holly or arborvitae with tall grasses. Any recommendations for evergreens, grasses, or shrubs under 25 feet tall? Well, I will tell you, Mike, that list is long and it would be really hard for me to list all of that. And one of the things that I always recommend when you're looking for recommendations for specific things in the area that you live in, go to your local extension office or your state extension office. They usually have excellent lists of things that grow well where you live, and it is a fabulous resource to use. I use my extension office, the Illinois State Extension Office, and the one for my county, Winnebago County. I use them as resources all the time. I like Sweet Autumn Clematis. It blooms in the fall and it's gorgeous. They actually grow a lot just in 1 year. This is a great example of one on a trellis. This comes from Jeannie Meyer. She gardens in Indiana zone 5/6A. She says she has mostly shade, but she does have some areas and she loves her fall Sweet Autumn Clematis. This is gorgeous. Our question comes from Kim Bullitt, 3293. She is struggling with a situation kind of like what we described in the video. She has a long, narrow backyard with a 3-foot wide bed. She's added many shrubs and perennials, and she's realized that she hasn't given them enough room to grow. She wants to know if it's too late in the season to dig and move her items. She's in zone 6B, Columbus, Ohio. So she has actually a longer growing season than I do because I'm in zone 5. Yes, you can move them. You have plenty of time before winter sets in. Just keep them hydrated and keep on watering until that ground freezes. I did put pre-emergent down in the bed, and user MJ6 TN2 ON1B and Bonnie Kellstrom 6014 and Kim Kurtz 6848 all wanted to know the brand of pre-emergent that I use and how I spread it. So I use a product called Snapshot. Now, readily available is Preen, but the difference between Preen and Snapshot is the amount of weeds that it stops from germinating on the label. Snapshot just has a much longer list, and that's why I like to use it. The other thing is, for me, because I'm doing this in a commercial application, that's what we buy as a commercial. I buy big 50-pound bags of it. So that's kind of what I buy, because Preen, you just buy those little jugs in the store, and that's not, I guess, cost effective when you're doing landscaping. So I use the Snapshot. We use a broadcast spreader, or we just spread it, sprinkle it throughout the garden bed, and then to activate it, you have to wet it. So you can either do that with your garden hose, or at home, when I spread it on my own garden beds, I wait until right before it rains, put it down, and then let the rain water activate it. You have to apply it more than once in a season. It only lasts for about 45 to 60 days, so it's something that you have to keep reapplying throughout the season, because weeds get in your garden bed not just in April, but through the whole season. And just so you know, a pre-emergent, it's what stops weed seed from germinating. It doesn't stop the weeds that are already got roots underneath the ground and are growing. This is a preventative for weeds. Check out this wreath. She made this because she watched the tutorial I did on making a wreath with hydrangeas. So this was made by Ginger, and she lives in northern Massachusetts, zone 5. That is gorgeous. I love the antique blue, and I just love that. I think it is so nice looking. Good job. Oh my goodness. I think I need hydrangeas with some blue. Well, I'll have to amend my soil if I want that, but oh my goodness, that is gorgeous. All right, our question comes from Janetta 5827. Michelle, if I already have mulch down, can I sprinkle the pre-emergent on top of the mulch? Yes, you can. What activates that to work is the water. And the granulars are super tiny, so it will work its way down into the mulch. I like this little group of pots. Something about it just speaks to me. I like that the shrubs are like that green backdrop. I like that I can see all of the different pots, and they look like they're concrete pots, and I like the different designs on them. I love purple and yellow together, so that just speaks to me. This picture actually comes from Jo Sweat. She lives in northern Mississippi, which is 20 miles south of Memphis, Zone 8A. Beautiful. Our question actually comes from Cindy Bunker, 4918, and she has a question about whether or not I put down fertilizer and pre-emergent, of which I did. And she also wants to know what kind of mulch I used. Well, I used a pallet mulch. And what that means is here where I live, it's a very popular mulch. They ground down the pallets and then they dye them the colors that they are. Typically, this kind of mulch is nutrient neutral. I don't really have a lot of issues with it. It really holds its color pretty good where we live, and it does break down over time. And as it does break down, then it starts to create some nutrients in the soil. But that's what we use. April Johnson 392 asks, after you apply wilt stop for winter protection, do I need to do anything in the spring to take it off, or does it just wear off over time? And yes, it just wears off over time. And for those of you that don't know what wilt stop is, this is wilt stop. Now, you can buy it like this in a ready to spray jug, or you can buy a concentrate if you have large amounts of things that you're going to spray. This is actually made with a non-toxic product. It's made from the resin of pine trees. We use this because we don't want things to dry out in the winter. So here in northern Illinois, the ground freezes. When the ground freezes, evergreens here don't have the ability to pull water up into their roots. Here, boxwoods are really susceptible to drying out in the winter. So I spray first year boxwoods with wilt stop. I also spray my boxwoods that are on the northwest side of my house. That's where all the storms come in. And so this helps protect it. I also use this product on my winter pots when I'm using a lot of southern greens like magnolia or eucalyptus, things like that I like to put in my pots. I spray this and it makes them last all winter long. So there are other applications as well, from windburn, sun scald, salt damage, keeps plants from drying out. That's the purpose of the product. So if you didn't know what it was, now you do, and now you know how to use it. The next video was on making succulent pumpkin planters. I love making those every year. I love doing it with my grandkids. I love doing it as a class in the store. I like making them for myself. I think they are so sweet and so adorable. They actually generated quite a few questions, so let's answer all of your questions about these great succulent planters. Wow, I just love this. That is so beautiful. This comes from Diane Hamilton in Weatherford, Texas, Zone 8. And here's what she writes about it. She wanted to share a picture of Texas sage, which is currently in full bloom. This is a native plant to Texas and is the state shrub of Texas. It's also known as a barometer bush since it usually flowers out its purple blooms just before or after a rain, and it is an evergreen for them in Zone 8. She loves the gray-green leaves that have a shimmery silver sheen, and of course, when it blooms its pinkish purple flowers, that's when it's at its best. That is gorgeous. I've never seen anything like that around here, but man, I would love to get my hands on some of that and try to grow it and maybe overwinter it. I don't know. I love it though. So we have the same question from two different people. Mary Vickard 6002 and Beverly Garchow 9945 want to know, do they have to mist the pumpkins? No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to create all that moisture on there. That would actually be bad. Probably it would make your pumpkin maybe turn faster. And I think you're counterintuitive to that glue holding all your succulents in place, and you're creating water down inside of there. Nope. Even when succulents are growing just normally, they're not a plant that wants to be misted. Check out that Drina Spike. Isn't that awesome? All right, so this picture comes from Noreen in Pennsylvania, Zone 6B, 7A. This is one of my garage planters. I overwintered the Drina Spike and the Vinca in the garage. She watered them maybe twice. In one of the tours that we did, it was the one that had the garden prairie. Someone had a Drina Spike that they'd been overwintering for like 5 years, and it's huge. So what she wrote was, challenge accepted. I will take you up on that challenge because I also have 2 Drina Spikes that I am going to try to overwinter as well. And we'll pull them all back out in the spring and see how they do. Our question comes from Down Sprig Lane, and she absolutely loves the succulent planters, but she wants to know, will those succulents die? Well, they absolutely could die. They're not going to stay on there forever, and they are a living plant. I leave them on for 6 to 8 weeks, and then I pluck them off, peel the glue off, and then I pot them down into cactus soil, put them underneath a grow light. I wait about a week, and then I start watering them, and I let them form roots through the winter, and then I use them again later in another project. This is another example of a sweet autumn clematis, but instead of growing up the trellis like the first picture was, this one's growing along a fence line. I love this clematis because it is so versatile. On Thursday, we released the video on converting the parking lot into the employee oasis area. This is the clematis that I used to grow up along the fence line. And this for Linda McKinney in Michigan, Zone 6A. This is the first year for this clematis. She planted it in the spring. Look at all the growth that she got just in one season. These guys are beasts. So if you want to create a living wall or you want something that's really going to give you impact year one, Sweet Autumn Clematis is a great climber. Our question comes from Peaches and Sugar One, and she wants to know, how long will it take before the succulents dry out or die on the pumpkin? Honestly, I've never left them on there long enough to find out how long that would take. I would guess that they could probably stay on there for a really long time because I have certainly beheaded lots of succulents, thrown them in a box and forgotten about them, and they didn't die. Now, I usually leave them on for 8 to 10 weeks, and then I'm repotting them up, putting them in some dirt underneath the grow lights in the office, and that works great for me. Look at this sweet little garden from Rita Monkman, who lives in Alberta, Canada, Zone 3 or 4. This is a small garden and pathway that my husband Stan and I created this year. The garden was started with the 9 bark on the right, which she has moved several times. She said that she's made some good choices and others she would change out, but for her, it's been an excellent learning and a fun project to do. And isn't that what gardening is? Everything I do doesn't work out, and every time I do something that fails, though, I learn, or it creates an opportunity to do something different. That's what I love about gardening. Judy Anderson 8782 has a really good question. She says she doesn't have any succulents, so she was wondering if she could use other plants, maybe cut the top off and set of pansies in it. Now, you could certainly core out your pumpkin and put some dirt in there and plant some pansies in there. I don't know how long that will last, though, because the more water you add to that pumpkin to keep your pansies watered and alive, the faster it's going to rot. Usually, most other plants aren't going to work. Succulents work because they can live on their own without roots. The only other thing that I could think that you could do that with would be air plants because they live on their own without roots too. Everything else needs water, and water breaks things down. So I would say succulents is probably the way to go. User WR7YL7XP8D wants to know how long it actually took me to make one, and she wants to know if she puts it outside, will the squirrels get them, and do they get mushy? Well, it is a live pumpkin, so over time, these probably will rot out, but we didn't cut a hole in them in any way, shape, or form, so they're probably going to last for a really long time outside. I usually take mine apart after Halloween, so I've had them outside for 6 to 8 weeks. I like to put them on my covered porch. Sometimes I put them right here on this bistro table that I'm sitting at. I've never had a squirrel go after them. Doesn't mean they won't, but I think they're less likely to because we didn't open up the bottoms of them. But see, mine are doing really well. I did them, I guess it's been almost 2 weeks since I did them. They still look really good. And they sat on my dining room table for about a week, and then I brought them outside. See, aren't they great? I love these. It took me about 15 minutes per pumpkin, but it can take certainly longer than that. Whenever we do the class in the store, I'd say the average person is taking 20 to 30 minutes to make one because they'll put a lot more on it. They really get into putting the little pieces on, and so they take a little bit longer. I do them all the time, so I'm probably a little quicker, but I don't know. I love these things. Our next video was a tour that we did with John up in Cottage Grove, which is near Madison. It was a garden tour, layers, islands, and a rain garden. I loved the layering of this garden, and I loved the way that he created all of the islands up close to the house to create that intimacy. And if you want to do a rain garden, that was a great example of how to do a rain garden. And I love that he used a basic plan from Better Homes and Gardens to start the rain garden and then expanded on that into his own garden spin. I loved it. I thought that garden was so colorful and so beautiful. I love the use of the annuals and even some of the plants that he planted in pots. I have a seed list started based on what I saw in John's garden. Oh my goodness, it was gorgeous. Isn't this the most beautiful bouquet of hydrangeas? Hydrangeas make great bunches of flower arrangements. You can make them short, make them long, and you can dry them. Drying them is super easy. You basically just pull the leaves off, put them in a vase with a little bit of water, let that water evaporate, and then those hydrangeas dry so beautifully. This picture is from Angela Kading in Zone 5, Iowa. Absolutely gorgeous. Our question actually comes from Rita Monkman. When I was doing the video with John, I never said what zone it was, and that's what she wanted to know, was what zone did John live in? Well, I'm so sorry I didn't say that. He is in a 4B/5A. These are the zinnias that we planted in the compost that we put on top of the cardboard that we put down in the spring. This is the entrance to the cottage garden. And this was kind of a temporary thing that I did because I wanted this big, impactful bunch of zinnias. And boy, did I get that. I think this is gorgeous. I love it. I'm going to do it again next year, but next year I think I'm going to do it in layers and make it tall and then come down shorter. I will definitely do this again. Absolutely loved the zinnias in here. Now we do have a question from Elaine Yakatin 2310. Outstanding, a true love of gardening. What is a Hoselink? Well, a Hoselink is a brand of hose that's retractable, and everybody swears by them. Now, in the comments from the video, if you look down, there were some other suggestions for some other products that people have tried and used that they liked as well. So check those out. But Hoselink is a very reputable company, and a lot of people love them. And I'm thinking about getting one because I drag hoses everywhere. So a Hoselink is one of those things to make your life easier as a gardener. Our next question comes from my dear friend Peggy Mills. She lives in Kentucky, and her question was, could that balsam be what we call touch me not flowers? If you touch the seed pod, they pop. And so I've never grown them before, so I looked it up, and yes, that is what they're called. That is another one of those items that's on my seed list to get for next year. But remember, you guys, do your homework before you plant seeds or flowers or things that you don't know about, because that's another one that can spread in the garden. And if you don't want that, you got to be careful. But I love that flower. I'm getting some. This is a picture from the garden of Jill Kellerhalls in Elgin, Illinois, Zone 5B. This was my patio about a month ago. Now, of course, most of the blooming is finished for the season, but they'll be back next year. Some different flower choices, different colors, different plants. And that's what we love about annuals. You can change the colors, the plants, heck, the whole theme of what you're doing every single year when you choose your different things to put in the pots. That's what we love about annuals. All that flower power and all of that beauty that it creates through the season. As we walked around John's garden, we saw a lot of different castor plants. And Judy Anderson 8782, she wants to know, can you get castor oil from those castor plants? And I have no idea. I actually might try to grow some castor plants this next year. They were really cool looking. But one thing you need to know is that they are poisonous, deadly poisonous. So if you're going to plant that, take care. Now, the spiny, sometimes spineless fruit, I looked this up, each contain 3 seeds with brown-black markings on them that resemble beans, but in fact are deadly poisonous. All right. However, after heat neutralizes their poison, and I have no idea how to do this or how hot you heat it or any of the processes to do that, but once you do that, then they obtain the oil from the seed, and it's not only safe for human consumption, but it's extremely useful in medicinal and cosmetic purposes. Who knew? Our next video was how to build compost bins, and then we reviewed that portable, lightweight, steel light blower, which I absolutely love that blower. It is fabulous. I love my compost bins too. You can see I've already started putting some yard waste in there. So that's all nitrogen. I've got to add some carbon. But I am so excited to be composting. Oh my gosh, look at these beautiful knockout roses. These roses come from the garden of Michelle Cox in Rockford, Illinois. Oh, wait, that's me. Knockout roses for me always look their best in September. Aren't those beautiful? I love them. We only got one question from the video on building the compost bins, and it came from Truth Seeker JE5PD. And she said that I'm Betty the Builder instead of Bob the Builder. And I don't know about that because I'm definitely not much of a builder, but I can do enough to get done what I need and what works for me. But her question was, in future, could I discuss a leaf chipper to chop leaves? Okay, for all of you out there that have been watching me for a while, you might or might not know this. I am deathly afraid of moving blades. You'll never see me use a chainsaw. I just have this fear of fast moving blades, like, the saws that go around in a circle. I don't even know what those are called. But those anything moving like that. I can handle hedge clippers because, they're way away from me, but anything I've got to get close on a blade, or they just freak me out. So no, I will not be doing a video on a leaf chopper. Sorry. The last video that I'm going to answer questions from is the last Garden Gab. There were a few questions generated from that. We're just going to cover those real quick, so let's get right at it. Check this out. Isn't that gorgeous? And it actually comes from another Rockfordian. So this is from Maria Gates, who also lives in Rockford, Illinois, Zone 5. This is a large window box that has Diachondra, Silver Falls, itsy bitsy petunias, geraniums. Oh my goodness. Below are knockout roses, banana cream daisies. Everything is gorgeous. It's so colorful and beautiful. I love this. And I love that you live in Rockford. Come see me at the garden center. All right. Now, the question comes from Kim Edge 7493. I don't know if you answer questions about lawns, but over 30 years, my lawn has become so lumpy, bumpy, and uneven that it's a tripping hazard everywhere. And the change is so extensive that it seems like the entire yard needs to be redone somehow. She wants to know, have I ever encountered that kind of problem before? Actually, yes. As a landscaper, we encountered it all the time. And what people want you to do is get a big roller and roll it over their lawn. But no, no, no. That is the worst thing that you can do. And compacting your soil is not the solution. Actually, I would try aeration first, then running a lawn rake over it. And then if that's not working over a couple seasons, I would regrade the lawn. That's how I would solve the problem. But that can get expensive. So I get the hesitation and not wanting to do it. The one thing I will tell you not to do, well, you can do whatever you want. It's your lawn. But I would tell you the worst practice that you can do is rolling it with a roller. Don't do that. This picture is from Donna Funk, who lives in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Zone 6. And I am so excited to share this picture with you because for at least 4 months now, Donna has been trying to send me a picture, and I have yet been able until today to open them. And some of them were so cool looking, and I really wanted to share them, but we couldn't figure out how to open the pictures. So I'm so excited that I can share this picture of her garden with you. This picture is of the south end of a boomerang-shaped flower bed that runs essentially parallel to the roads that border her corner lot. I love the Joe Pye weed. I love the juniper. I like the layering, the colors. Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. I am so happy that we were able to get this on here. Thank you, Donna, for the picture. April Johnson 392 has a question, and she wants to know, today as I was pulling up weeds, I noticed a tunnel that zigzagged around the garden and right up to my river birch tree. Any idea what could have made this? She saw some sawdust type of looking dirt and stuff. I honestly, it's hard to say what it is. It's probably a gopher. It could be a lot of different things though. But I would just try to watch for it. Hello, Sandra Connor 6968, and this is a long one. User WR7YL7XP8D. Oh, got it all in one breath. They are asking about these beautiful cleomes here and whether or not they self-seed. These cleomes are from Proven Winners, and they are the Senorita Marguerite, and they are sterile. They do not self-seed. Now, I do know that some cleomes that you grow will seed all over the place, so be careful if you don't want that going on and you plant cleomes. The other thing that I've seen with cleomes that are not this variety, these are from Proven Winners, is they grow different heights. Look how nice and uniform the height is on this one. I think that's why I like it, because it grows this great impactful clump and they don't go all over. So Those are the cleums. No, they don't reseed, but you got to use this variety. All right, I promised you an announcement that you could get in on. Stay tuned for this next week, because next week I am launching my Shopify page. I am very excited about this. We are not loading a whole bunch of different things into this. Most of what I'm going to put in it will be things that are limited runs. New this year, Proven Winners has partnered with Netherland Bulb Company to create an exclusive line of bulbs that are only available at IGCs, which are independent garden centers, of which I am one of those, and I got my hands on some of them. We are going to be offering these for sale in our Shopify store, which will launch next week. Stay tuned for that, because I'll be doing a video on all of these great bulbs, and we'll be doing giveaways of some of these as well. So make sure you tune in when you see that bulb video come up. The other fun thing that's coming up is I am going to see Erin at the Impatient Gardener. Watch for a special edition of Garden Gab. We are going to go tour her garden and just gab in the garden about the garden. I am so excited. I've been kind of working on setting this up all summer long, and now we are going. So if you don't know who Erin at the Impatient Gardener is, she gardens up north of Milwaukee, kind of right on Lake Michigan. She has a little bit of a unique situation, and this woman knows her stuff, and she is an expert when it comes to natives and deer resistant things. And oh, I cannot wait to go and see her gardens, because she gardens different things than I garden. So I'm going to learn some things, and I'm really excited. So watch for that special edition of Garden Gab as well. So those are my special announcements. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope the pictures inspired you. I know they inspired me. So make sure you tune in on the first and third Saturdays of the month for every new edition of Garden Gab, where we talk about the garden in the garden. And right now we're answering questions, and we are sharing viewer submission pictures, and we're going to keep doing that as long as people want to send their pictures, and as long as I can handle the size of how many pictures I get. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you get in your garden today. It deserves some TLC. Don't forget, so do you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.